What's up, folks? I'm back with another reaction, back with some more J-drama score, though I'm in a bit of a pickle. This is a show from 2003. It's one of the oldest shows in terms of when it was produced and filmed, of the J-dramas that I've come to know and enjoy over the years. It wasn't the first one I saw. I think the first one I saw wasn't from '05. I want to say that's My Boss, My Hero. I saw it around the same time as Hana Yoridango and Nodame Cantabile. I actually don't remember like which of the three I saw first. I think it was maybe Hana Yoridango. And that I think was '06. But bottom line, shortly after I started watching J-drama, this is one that my like girlfriend and then later just like regular friend eventually brought to my attention, and it's called Kimi Wa Petto, which is sort of Japanese, like it's written in the Romaji, but Kimi Wa Petto in Japanese means "you're my pet." Now it's translated as the official English title as Pet Lover. But like I said, it's also, like, in fact, I've seen it other places as "You're My Pet," like, in English. But Kimi Wa Petto is the way I know it, and that's the official title in the original Japanese, so that's what we'll call it. It stars one of my favorite actresses, Koyuki here, who incidentally is born on the same day as me, December 18th, although 2 years before me. But international audiences will know her from The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise. I think that's like her most famous performance. But in Japan, she's very prolific. She acts in all sorts of movies and TV shows going back to the 90s and on up into the present. Indeed, there's a show that I tried to react to the theme song twice. It's called Fragile. It's a song by Tokyo, and the lead singer of the band is the main actor in the show. It's been blocked twice, so I just don't think there's any way I'm going to be able to react to it, because even the second time I tried to like pause it and break it up, it still blocked it. But yeah, bottom line, Koyuki is in a show with the lead singer from Tokyo called Fragile. She's great in that, and that's from much later. That's like 2016, maybe 2017. But yeah, this is from '03. Matsumoto Jun, the guy here, another actor. He was in Hana Yoridango, the first the first J-drama that I think I saw. And I've seen him in many other things over the years. 99.9, Lucky 7, the list just goes on. But yeah, he's a hilarious actor, like very good like in emotional scenes, but also can be very funny and sort of like, kind of over the top. So yeah, both of the leads are very good. The story is crazy. You're My Pet. It's literally like, it's based on a manga, so that I think can maybe frame it for you. It's, in one respect, it's maybe a little reality plus, but then like, the dating sort of drama and the like emotions of it is very, very real and grounded, and it's not like it's more like romance than romance comedy. Like there's some comedy certainly, like it's definitely a funny show, but like, there's some real kind of emotional pain and like angst and kind of drama along the way. But bottom line, it's a woman who is in her, I think, late 20s or early 30s, and she's very good at her job, but like in her job, she's often seen and spoken to like as a woman specifically, not just as a good employee or like one of the like, partners or associates in the firm or whatever. So she kind of deals with like sexism and like patriarchy a bit at work. And her dating life isn't really like, she's not married, right? She's in her early 20 or late 20s, early 30s, and like in Japanese culture, like in some ways, like at least in some families and situations, it's seen as like, well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you married yet? And so she's getting a bit of that in her life and whatever. And one day she's coming home from work and having dealt with that kind of bullshit at work, and she sees this guy who's been beat up, like he got pummeled, and he's like sort of like outside in front of her apartment building, like looking very pathetic and in need of help. And so she kind of like, I guess I'm gonna help him, and she kind of picks him up, whatever. So he's a guy that's like in his early 20s, just for context. So she brings him inside, she helps him kind of, like heals his wounds or whatever, gives him a meal, and he's very thankful and appreciative. And he's a handsome guy, and like I said, he's in his early 20s, so he's a bit younger than her. But he basically says, like, right now I'm on the outs with my family, that, like, I'm a dancer, I do, like, ballet and dance performance, and right now I don't really have anywhere to stay. Could I maybe stay here? And she's like, no, that's completely not appropriate. And he's like, look, I'll do whatever you want. You need me to do chores? You want me to cook for you? Like, whatever. I'll totally do that. Like, I'll be, like, your pet. You just needed, like, someone to, like, have, because she kind of, like, unloads a little bit, or not unloads, but opens up to him, and yeah, you know, I get sort of crap at my work, and he's like, look, you want to come home and just tell me what happened to your day? I'll be here. I'll be your pet. I'll be a dog for you. And he, like, to show this, to symbolize this, he kind of like acts like a dog in front of her, and she pats him on the head and eventually relents and lets him stay there. And so she doesn't tell anyone this is happening at first, and then, you know, there's this tension because he is very attracted to her, and even though she's a little older, she is very attracted to him because he's, you know, a handsome guy and whatever. So then, like, at her work, there's this other guy, older, her age, early 30s, whatever. He's this hotshot, he's successful, but he's also, like, very kind and very, like, sweet and so on. And he starts flirting with her. And so then now she's in this weird situation where, like, she has this guy who's in his early 20s, and, you know, he's a handsome young dude living in her house. She's starting to maybe date this other guy who's older, like her age, at her work, but she can't at first, like, take him to her place because this guy is there. So she eventually talks to one of her friends and, like, coworkers about this. She's like, what? Like, what are you doing? Like, you're crazy. But eventually it gets more and more complicated because, like, the relationship advances with the guy, but, like, she also, like, feels like not only is, like, Momo is her nickname for the dancer guy. That's not his real name, but she calls him Momo. And, like, she's very, she comes to depend on him and, like, see him as this sort of, like, a person she can depend on. She can talk to about anything, and sometimes they're kind of, like, you know, cuddling next to each other when they're talking, and, like, for him, it's like, you know, he feels in a way like she's sort of drawing him in and maybe, like, inviting him into a relationship, but she keeps stopping him from, like, kissing her and whatever. And then, like, eventually she does bring the guy back because she thinks Momo's like, I'm not going to be there. I'm leaving. This is too weird. Like, it's starting to get complicated. So then she comes home with the other guy and they sleep together, but Momo had second thoughts and came back. So he was there when that was happening. It gets more and more complicated. Momo also has an ex-girlfriend who kind of, like, still wants him and also feels like, who the hell is this old lady who's spending time with you? Like, what are you doing living with her? So there's emotion coming from all different angles. It's complicated, it's painful in moments. We're going to listen to a tune called My Soup Has Gotten Cold. Now, the reason I was saying it's complicated, I can't find who did the music for this. It doesn't show it here in the credits. And I used two different, like, Japanese drama sites, and they normally list the music director / composer. Both of the sites for this show don't show who did the music. So for the time being, I can't say who did the music. I'm just going to list it, Kimi Wa Petto, My Soup Has Gotten Cold. If someone out there knows who did it, or if I eventually find out, I will adjust the video title accordingly, but for now, I don't know who did it. In terms of the music, it doesn't have any singing. It's like a score piece, although, I don't know, it's kind of like soundtrack score, but it's instrumental, is what I'm saying. It's used in some moments where, like, there's a lot of emotion at play. The first time you hear it, and I think the most prominent time in terms of, like, the way the track hits you, she goes on a date with the guy her age at her work, who's very successful and good, but also, again, sweet, and, you know, he's handsome and whatever. So she goes on, like, the first real date with him, and she comes home and her head is in the pink clouds, like, she's feeling like, wow, that was an amazing date. She walks inside, closes the door, and kind of, like, leans back against the door, like, oh my god. And Momo's there, and he's like, oh, what happened, whatever. And so she's saying, like, oh, you know, I went on the date and it was good. And so, you know, he's trying to be supportive, even though you can tell it's kind of hurting him and whatever. So it's in this, like, moment where she's feeling very elated and excited about and infatuated about what's happening. But there's, you know, there's complicated emotions. And it's funny because, like, in a way, I think the tune does capture that, does capture that, your kind of head is up in the clouds and you're very excited about what's happening, but there is kind of an underlying, like, melancholy or potential for pain. So I think it fits, like, so perfectly. So here we go. Don't know the composer, but this is from the Kima Wa Petto soundtrack, 2003, My Soup Has Gotten Cold. remember years after I saw this, going on a date, an early date. It's like a hiccup. What the hell was that? But I remember coming back from it, and I felt like this to the point where, like, you know, I'm gonna put on that tune. Where I was like excited, but it's like, you know, a little, I don't know what's gonna happen, the sort of uncertainty of it. That guitar is nice. Kind of like ambient space guitar. The electric one, I mean, not the acoustic one that's been here the whole time. Yeah, like I said, it's a sonically complex tune. I think it captures the complicated emotions in any sort of interpersonal relationship early on, when you don't quite know how it's going to go. You're excited, but you know, you don't fully know the other person yet, and there's that sort of, wow, that went really well. And you know, when you go on a date, there's that sort of like, you know, you're trying to be the best version of yourself as much as possible, and you know, you're sort of like making sure that, you know, you don't sort of like, you know, say something stupid or whatever, and then at the end of the date you can kind of like release that pressure, I guess. Like there's a few different dynamics that I think it works with sonically, but even more particularly in the context of the show, there's a lot of swirling emotions by this point. So yeah, it's a cool tune. Again, the show, I would say, if you like sort of like, you know, as I said, there is comedy, but if you like emotional, kind of romantic, you know, complicated, like love triangle kind of things, you probably would enjoy the show. If not, then I would say, you know, maybe not, it wouldn't be your favorite, but for me it'll always be nostalgic, because it was one of the earliest ones, maybe not the absolute first, but within the first 3 or 4 that I had seen. And again, there's several actors and actresses in it that not only did I enjoy the performance there, but I came to see in other things and enjoy a great deal. So bottom line, let me know what you think of the tune. I will see you next time. Peace.